Now, call to order the Wytheville Town Council special meeting, Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, at 4 p.m. in the Municipal Building at 150 East Monroe Street, Wytheville. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Mayor Kathy Patterson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the list is to approve the agenda. I will need a motion.
I so moved.
I have a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any dialogue? All right, this will be a roll call vote.
Gilman, aye.
Patterson, aye.
Taylor, aye.
Atkins, aye. Johnson.
So we will move forward to the consent agenda, which is the minutes of the regular meeting of September 25, 2023. I need a motion to accept as presented or somehow amended.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I hear none. All in favor to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of September 25th, 2023, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Any opposed?
I'm going to pass because I was not here at that meeting. I was out of town before that. Thank you.
No one opposed. That has been adopted. Next on our agenda is consideration for the insurance of general obligation bonds in the maximum amount of $8,043,000 to be used to acquire a refuge truck and a dehumidification unit for the town. Staff report presentation by Town Manager Brian Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. This is an issue that you all have heard quite a bit about going back to 2021 when the council approved the purchase of a new dehumidification unit for the natatorium at the indoor pool at the Wytheville Community Center. As you all know, that unit was the original unit, part of the original construction of the facility, and was failing, and a new unit was really the only option. Back then, when the council considered it, there was another option that was you can spend $100,000 on parts, but there are no parts guarantees, and it was recommended that the unit be replaced. The cost of the unit is approximately $583,880. The other item that is part of this loan bond, we'll call loan, is a refuse truck. The current truck is at its life expectancy, and over the last couple of years has experienced a lot of failures and a lot of time in the shop, a lot of maintenance needs, and the time has come to buy another one. The anticipated cost for that truck is $253,597. We also included $5,000 for bond counsel, and the bond before you tonight is a not to exceed bond to the U.S. Department of Agriculture for $843,000. This bond does not have any prepayment penalties. It's a 10-year bond at 3.75% interest. And at the town's option, if things improve, we could pay the bond off early without penalty. Currently, we are getting about 5.5% on our reserves, hence the part of the decision-making process for borrowing versus paying out of pocket. So I'll leave you with that, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
What's the time frame on delivery of trucks?
It's a good question, and I don't have an answer as I sit here. I know the purchase order has been executed, and I think we were anticipating getting it in this calendar year, but I apologize, Ms. Patterson, I don't know when we'll get it. The dehumidification unit is looking like it's going to be early 2024 for full installation, or first quarter of 2024. I don't know if that unit has actually gotten here. I think there was a 10-month lead time on it when we originally ordered it, and I don't know if that unit is here yet or not. I know they have been in the facility. They were in the facility throughout parts of August and September doing some duct work and some things to make the new unit fit up. And then I think they'll be coming back in the coming months to install the dehumidifier.
I have one question.
Yes,
So we get 5.5% on our reserves
currently, and it's a daily. It adjusts daily and it follows very closely with what the Federal Reserve is doing.
Okay, so now the reason why I asked that is because I know with the general obligation bond,
Mhm.
there can be a levy, which can be the purchaser of that bond can raise taxes. And so I need to know
Sure.
that we are going to have the money to be able to pay for this without raising taxes. That's
So-
the only concern I have.
So just a quick clarification. The owner of the bond does not have the ability to levy taxes. What a general obligation bond does is when basically there are revenue bonds and there are general obligation bonds. With the general obligation bonds, the borrower, in our case, has the ability to levy taxes to pay it back. And so that is part of your credit worthiness. Whereas with a revenue bond, that would be on something, you would see those often on something like a toll road, a toll bridge, or something where the project itself generates revenue. And that becomes part of the financing picture because there's revenues being generated from the construction of whatever it is with the bond. So to be clear, they don't have the ability to raise our taxes, but because the town has taxing authority, they will grant you the bond knowing that you are obligated to pay it back.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Long as,
And so just real quick, the 10 years, the note, the anticipated repayment is about $118,000 a year for 10 years.
You said 118, Mr. Freeman?
Yes, ma'am. At 3.75 on 843,000.
And is there any incentive on if we pay it back early, if that's a possibility?
Well, you could forego the future interest on
okay.
anything that you pay back. And we did clarify that today, that there is no early repayment penalty. And if we pay off early, we would forego future interest payments.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions? Could I just get some clarification as to, it's in Part B, any payment on the bonds shall be applied first to interest accrual to the payment. So if we actually think we're going to stretch it out 10 years, we have to do the 10 years interest on it first?
That's a good question. And it's a little ambiguous, I'll admit. And we did send that question to them today and said, hey, if we wanted to pay, say in year 9, we wanted to finish off paying it. And the email we got back said, if you paid off in year 9, you wouldn't pay interest for year 10.
Anybody else have any other?
But by comparison, bonds there are situations in bonds where the full repayment of the bond, the original amount plus the interest is due before the bond is closed. That's because the bonds are owned by investors and they have an anticipated return on that. We understand that this is a little more unique, but the clarity on that's is from the email we got today is the best I can offer on that. Had we gone out to borrow this money from a bank, you would have had obviously the ability to repay early, but you would have been looking at a much higher interest rate also. where this is through USDA rural development, we get very favorable interest rates. That's why it's the 3.75 versus what's in the commercial lending market right now.
Thank you all for keeping up with that.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. I will now open up the public hearing to receive comments regarding the issuance of general obligation bonds in the maximum amount of $843,000 to be used to acquire a refuge truck and a dehumidification unit for the town. Now open. We don't have anybody at the moment who that wishes to speak towards this public hearing. We'll just take a couple breaths and wait a couple of seconds and as there's nobody here to speak on this public hearing, I will now consider this to be closed. Next on the agenda is a consideration by the town council to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds and the execution and delivery of certain related documents. This will require a motion. I have a motion.
Move that we accept the general obligation bond in the amount of $843,000 for dehumidification unit for refuge truck.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any dialogue? All right. Here none. This is going to be a roll call vote. We're going to start with Councilwoman Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Atkins, aye.
Taylor, aye.
Patterson, aye.
Gilman, aye.
All right, so that motion passes unanimously. And I do believe we come to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second to adjourn?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we should have bet on that.